So Maputo National Park is one of the most successful conservation stories in Africa. What for you stood out in 2022?
Well, again, Maputo is just moving from strength to strength, isn't it? And it's just pure joy for me if I get into a helicopter in Maputo National Park, and I've had the privilege again this year to do so a couple of times with donors, and just be in awe of this paradise. And flying over the park, because it's quite sandy and a lot of hilly terrain, and in these vast plains, aerial view is just the best. And to see these thousands of animals over these plains, it's just, it's a complete dream come true. And if you compare what it was, thinking back 2006, we signed a first agreement to help the government develop and manage Maputo National Park. We had over 12,000 cattle in this park, and I think about 4,000 goats, roughly. Today there's about 400 cattle and about 13,000 wildlife animal heads of game. And to see that transition has been totally remarkable. So part of this journey, of course, is now to sustain this. Conservation is expensive. To manage a park like Maputo National Park at the moment costs about $2 million a year, because you have to have helicopters, you have to have well-paid, well-motivated staff, and you have to have quite extensive livelihood alternative program for people around in this landscape. And one of the investments that Peace Parks has made this year is to invest into the next tourist lodge called Mbembeni, and it's very much linked to the values of Peace Parks. If you go and look for Mbembeni Lodge, if you fly over, you'll barely see it from the air. It's on the sea, but it's in the trees, and we took great pains, and we're very, very clear with the project managers and the architects that they have to build this lodge, which is a 80-bed lodge, 2-star 80-bed lodge, in and amongst the landscape, and no big trees can be cut, and that's the instruction. And if you go to Mbembeni now, and I'm sure there's some good footage already, you'll see we've achieved that brief. It is fantastic. It's in amongst the landscape. It blends into the landscape, having this unique experience of being able to not only visit now the terrestrial side, but witness the success of the marine component, where after the protection now of the marine side for 14 years, so for 14 years, Peace Parks and the government of Mozambique has successfully implemented a zonation plan for the marine component, and there are areas where no fishing was allowed, and even areas where nobody was allowed. So real sanctuaries. And today, if you fly over the sea, you see massive bull sharks, you see rays, you see the largest giant kingfish congregation in the world occurs now there. You see, dorados, you see turtles. So it's just as exciting, right? Because always it's much more difficult to see impact and conservation. But of course, if you go and dive, but even if you fly over the marine component, it's really, really special to see. So that is what makes Maputo National Park so unique, is this combination of a bush environment and then the marine side.
Yeah, and if you compare wildlife sightings now to a couple of years ago, you would only kind of see the back of something running into the bush. But now when you go, there's a very good chance of you being able to spend time with large herds of elephants and other animals that we've brought in over the years. I think, how many, 5,000 that we've brought in?
Yeah, so this was a milestone year. We've brought in the 14th species with the eland introduction. Just over 30 eland was introduced. We went over 5,000 animals that was reintroduced since 2010, over the last 12 years. and the World Bank, Mosby program, and Peace Park Foundation were the main two donors. And yeah, if you think about it, that's quite a large number. 5,000 animals captured somewhere, loaded onto a truck, driven hundreds of kilometers and then released, and that population has doubled, more than doubled since then. If you drive around, I mean, there's just elephant everywhere, and there's wildlife everywhere. So it's a very satisfying experience.
One of the markers of success is when your animal population grows to the point where you're able to actually move some of them out to other parks, and I think this also happened this year.
So we've got too many elephants, and Zenaf, another park co-managed by Peace Parks Foundation, is still being rehabilitated, rewilded, and this year also was the capture and movement of elephant in the landscape around Maputo National Park to Zenaf National Park. And this was the first time that elephants were moved within Mozambique from one protected area to another protected area.
And there's a very special person kind of spearheading this, the Miguel, the park warden, who we all know and love dearly. He was awarded the Tusk Award this year. What is the significance of that? Well,
I think the Tusk Award for conservation in Africa was awarded. Miguel was the winner, and I think Miguel, and I said it on the interview as well, was part and parcel of this entire success story of rewilding, rehabilitating Maputo National Park. It's one thing to help with resources and support like Peace Parks Foundation has done, but at the same time you need ownership and you need leadership. And Miguel was, the key person driving that on the ground. As a young, upcoming conservationist, if you look at the results and the achievements, I cannot think of a more worthy winner than Miguel, and we are extremely proud of him.